Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Philip Ryan Deal podcast. My name is Philip Ryan Deal. Some people call me Philip, some people call me Ryan, some people call me Hey Bitch, some people call me that son of a bitch. So, however you know me across the internet, um, you're free to call me whatever you want. I wanted to make a podcast today talking about two books that I released recently. And the first one is called The Ifa Oracle, and the second one is called The New Star Religion. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about both books. And today's podcast is actually about like what is the New Star Religion book about, which is about disclosure. You know, right now Steven Spielberg's new movie, Disclosure Day, is coming out. I think in 2025, at the end of 2025, there was another like documentary film that came out about disclosure, that had a whole bunch of like U.S. senators and military and other people in it talking about UAPs. And so aliens are a hot topic right now. I mean, aliens and supernatural paranormal shit is always popular, but once again, it is trending. And what I want to say in my defense is I'm not trying to jump on any kind of bandwagon here, okay? I didn't put out a book called The New Star Religion because I thought, oh, damn, I'm going to make, a couple of dollars off of jumping on this alien UAP subject. No, not at all. The reason why I put out The New Star Religion is because right now, the conversation around what they call the phenomena, the phenomena of UAPs is starting to turn religious. Now, that's nothing new. You've heard of Ancient Aliens, right? Everybody has seen an episode of Ancient Aliens where the basic premise is aliens came from a distant civilization, call them the Anunnaki, whatever, came to Earth, created us either by manipulating the DNA of life that was already here, or basically created us as new creations using their DNA and I guess DNA that could be found here on this planet that could survive in a material body on this planet, and they created this hybrid, which is what we're like human beings, what we are. Um, and so the pyramids and the Mayans and astrology and astronomy and stargazing and understanding medicine and all of this, it all comes down from aliens that have a very specific address somewhere in the universe and that travel here in spaceships, in starships, and and made their presence known. These entities, because of their technology, were considered gods, and they are also considered the entities or beings that established civilization. That is the entire 20 seasons of Ancient Aliens in a nutshell. Every single episode is going to be some kind of variation on that subject. My book, The New Star Religion, is not about aliens. and ancient aliens. It's way more sophisticated than that. Because what we're finding is, or what researchers, scientists, military, people who are intimately involved with this whole phenomena, what they're starting to say is that we're dealing with multiple species or many different kinds of non-human intelligence here on Earth that have probably been here for a very, very long time and are still here. And the conversation has turned from little green men in the sky to interdimensional beings, interdimensional phenomena that can manifest seemingly out of nothing and disappear into nothing. Okay, so we're talking about higher dimensional entities. If you've been paying attention to the disclosure movement and you've been paying attention to researchers and the dialogue, that's where we're at with that conversation. And now what is happening is people are starting to get spooked. Okay, people are starting to look at their religions and trying to make sense of their belief systems through this lens of interdimensional, higher level beings. Okay? J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, when confronted and asked about what he thought this phenomenon was, he said, demons. I think they're demons. Okay? However, in Hinduism, there is this idea or belief in light beings or the shining ones, which is interesting because I talk about the shining ones too. There's across cultures in the ancient world, a lot of the ontology or a lot of the concepts around these entities are the same. Human beings in the Amazon experiencing the same phenomena. I'm going to do, every time I say the word phenomena, I'm going to use that tone, okay? People experiencing the phenomena in the Amazon people are also experiencing the same phenomena in China, in Africa, in Northern European places. So the phenomenon is, the phenomena is something that occurs in nature on a regular basis, and it has been observed by human beings all over the world. Some have created entire religions and belief systems around this. And so the fear is, and I think what the Disclosure Day movie is doing really is asking the question, what would you do if you woke up tomorrow and found out or realized, or it was proven to you, that your belief system, what you believe, is based on a lie or a misunderstanding or a system of control? That is also a very, very big theme in the New Star religion, okay? I have an entire outline, I have entire notes here that I'm going to reference. So today, the conversations around UAP is framed through on YouTube, on TikTok, framed around government secrecy, the military evidence that's being hidden, aliens from another planet, advanced technology, reverse engineering of this technology. It's about feeling threatened. It's about politics. And the religious questions revolve around what is intelligence? What does it mean to be embodied? What is spirit? What is destiny? Can beings descend from higher worlds? Can non-human presences communicate with us? How do we stay ethical when contacting what is greater than ourselves? So the main point is disclosure is not only about what is in the sky, it's about what kind of reality humans are being forced to admit we live inside. And you guys know that I went to Africa and I got fully initiated into Ifa, the Orisha faith of the Yoruba people. And the reason why I wrote this book is because this conversation is turning into a religious one, and there is the Yoruba people and their views around this kind of phenomena is not in consideration. People are not talking about it. And they're not talking about it because it's not that it's not popular. There's a lot of people that practice Santeria. There's a lot of people that practice Lukumi. There's a lot of people that practice Asheshe. There's a lot of people that practice 21 divisions, voodoo, Sansei, hoodoo, root work, or some other African-based tradition. But it's something that's not talked about often, which is the Urunmile, or the people of heaven. If you're involved in the Orisha tradition, you have heard of the story that Oludumare, who is the supreme being, sent the Urunmile, the people of heaven, to Earth for the purpose of terraforming it, cultivating it, and creating life. And so Ogun, who is the Orisha of civilization, and the Orisha of iron, and the Orisha of war, dropped a chain from heaven to earth and arrived to start to clear the path for the other Orisha to come and start to create life. Obatala, the Arunmile, got drunk on palm wine, and when he was crafting or creating human beings, he made mistakes, and that is why some human beings come out of the womb with deformities. That's why some people come out of the womb with mental and behavioral health problems. So Obatala, as the Orisha, is considered the creator Orishanla. And I think it's kind of funny that Obatala's symbol is the snail shell, or the snail, the Fibonacci sequence, or the pattern within creation. Obatala as the creator under Oludumare, symbol or pattern is the spiral, okay, which is something that can be seen in nature, okay, this spiraling feature. So the creation myth in Yoruba cosmology is actually very similar to what you would think is the story of the Anunnaki, okay? But it's more sophisticated than that. In Yoruba cosmology, the universe is filled with intelligence. and many intelligences. You know what? I am over here. Let me change I'm going to come back to the Ifa Oracle book because there's no point in talking about that right this second. There. Let's put up a nice picture of this diviner. Orunmila. We're going to say this is Orula, or the diviner. Okay? As an Orunmila or Ifa is the witness to destiny, the binary code that runs through all of existence, which is what the system of divination is based off of. But in life, as a human, Orula or Orunmila was a great diviner and Babalao, father of the mysteries, that really codified the West African system of divination that we now call the Holy Odu Ifa. I've written books about it. You can go check it out on Amazon. So, in Yoruba cosmology, Oludumare, Olorun, is the source or the ultimate divine origin, progenitor. Odu is the womb matrix. And Orun, which is translated as heaven frequently, is, I'm not going to say that it's not accurate, but it is sorely incomplete. Orun in Yoruba cosmology means spiritual world, and more importantly, source or origin, what everything originates from. And Ia, which is usually translated in earth, means the material world. So there's Orun, the spiritual world, and Ia, the material world. And according to Yoruba cosmology, after the Orunmila crafted and created the world and evolved it, developed it, some of the Orunmila decided to stay on Earth. Some of them left, some of them stayed. And the ones that stayed became Orisha. And the ones that are Orula, Obatala, Oshun, Ogun, these are Orunmila that are also Orisha. Not all Orisha are Orunmila, but the Orisha that are Orunmila are like primordial. There are also entities that are believed to incarnate many, many times on Earth. So Yoruba cosmology understands that reality is not flat and that human beings are not isolated egos. Here, let's put this pretty picture up. Seraphim Ganga made these images for us. Human beings are not isolated egos wandering through empty space. We are embodied in a field of forces, intelligences, ancestors, destinies, and relationships. And the Orisha are not aliens, and aliens are not automatically Orisha. We need to be very clear that this book does not make a cheap claim about African gods as ancient astronauts. We're not reducing the Ifa religion to ancient aliens, okay? Because anybody that is a member of these religions are in communication with these entities on a regular basis. This is a part that's very important. Something that I really put out in the book that's very, very important is this concept of who has or doesn't have the license to communicate with these entities. In 21 divisions, the Loa are also called mysteries. They're mysteries. And people who communicate with these mysteries have always been or have been demonized by the church for 1,000 years. I'm going to go back now and I'm going to hit up a few points about Abrahamic religion. So, in the Abrahamic religion, people who are not designated, people who are not licensed priests, who gatekeep sacred information and keep it in the temple, like in Judaism, the Israelites had their Levites, who were the priestly class within the ancient Israel Hebraic world. Anyone who was not a licensed priest was not permitted to communicate directly with God or the spirits. It is very, very clear in Deuteronomy. It is very, very clear in the Bible in many, many places that anyone that is considered a psychic medium, anyone that is performing some kind of divination, is an abomination and must be rooted out and killed. Death was the penalty for people that practiced non-licensed communication with higher entities. I use the Witch of Endor as an example, which is when Saul was getting like no information about his situation, and so he decided to do the taboo. He decided to go to a witch to conjure the dead, and that is when Samuel the prophet was, oh my gosh, yes, I'm doing this from memory right now. Let's see, let me just pull something up. I don't want to give you, yeah, she was a necromancer. Desperate King Saul went to consult her, and the prophet Samuel showed up. The spirit of the dead prophet Samuel showed up. I wanted to just pull up that information real quick because we're doing the best we can to do this podcast today, despite of obstacles. So the point of that whole passage in the Bible is that, yeah, there were witches and there were necromancers and there are people that could communicate with the dead and non-human entities and people that practiced other religions. The Bible teaches there are other religions and other gods people worshipped. But of course, Israel has the only true God. And Christians inherited that arrogance and that bias towards other religions, other people, other practices. And the Roman Empire, when it embraced Christianity and made it the state religion, about in the 300s, that when the Bible was being put together, when it was started to be canonized, and when the laws and the rules of the church started becoming codified, the concept of people who are not priests, people who are not custodians of the mysteries, are not allowed to do this kind of private divination, private communication practices between themselves and daimons, or what later became demons, okay? Because across cultures, it has been very common, the belief of what Catholics would call a holy guardian angel. You've heard about the holy guardian angel in occult circles. We call it the Metet in Haitian voodoo. In Orisha, people call it your guardian Orisha. There's a name for it in Hinduism. The uh, Ishta Devata is the personal divinity or the personal daimon. In Greek, it was the daimon. Socrates had a daimon that communicated with him, especially warned him of danger. It's believed that everyone has a guardian spirit or some kind of guide, okay? That's not you. You are you, but there's also a spirit that accompanies you through life. From cradle to grave, there is a spirit that walks with you. So people were severed or cut off from contact between themselves and their spirits. Ancestor veneration and ancestor worship became taboo and was demonized. Animism, which is the understanding that there is intelligence in nature that can be communicated with. All of these ancient practices from paganism and African traditional religions have been demonized by the church and everywhere the church has gone and colonized. And so the point of what I'm trying to say is that throughout history, at least over the past 2,000 years, there have been groups of people, starting with, I'm not going to say starting just with the Jews. I'm not going to say that, okay? I'm not going to say just with the Hebrews in the Bible, the Old Testament. People who have a negative opinion of the progenitors, the creators, or in reality, in African traditional religion, their ancestors. This is the difference between West African religions and other religions. In West African religion, these beings, these entities, these Orunmile, the people of heaven, are these creators, not one singular creator, but a democracy of creators, are considered to be the ancestors, the progenitors of us. We're their children. We're the children of these entities. So there's a familial feeling aspect that comes along with the spiritual practices, because at the end of the day, they're all ancestors, and all of those ancestors originated in the cosmic source, from the cosmic source, the womb matrix, whether you want to call it Mawu in Vodun or Odu in Yoruba, Orisha, it doesn't really matter. The concept is the same, that we can have, each individual person should have, I'm not going to say can have, each individual person should have their own spiritual practice of communication with their primary guide, their spirits, and also the ancestors. But mediumship and divination as a technology for contact with these daimons, orishas, loa, mysteries, kami, whatever you want to call them, in whatever language. And I'm not a Vodun, I'm not trying to flatten, I'm not flattening, let me be really clear about something. I am not trying to flatten cultures and individual cultures' relationships to these entities, okay? Every single culture, whether it's African or Chinese or Japanese or European have a relationship and a culture that is around this phenomenon. And I'm not trying to flatten them all out into one monolith. Okay, I'm not trying to homogenize them or colonize them into a belief system. What I'm saying is that each culture has its own way of dealing with this phenomena. So, African traditional religions use divination and are considered spiritistic, mediumistic, or spiritualist to communicate with non-human intelligences, spirits of the dead, spirits of nature, and what we would say higher level entities. We're entering an age where humanity is dealing with multiple forms of non-human or more than human presences. In religion, we say spirits and ancestors, Orisha, divine intelligences, and then you have UAP encounters, which I want to say can be a completely separate thing. And then we have synthetic intelligence, digital companions, dream entities, egregores, and collective thought forms. What is an example of an egregore to me? To me, the algorithms are egregores. We created the algorithms, right? In the internet, we created social media algorithms. To me, algorithms function as egregores. They function, they behave. Okay, I am back. I think that maybe somebody doesn't like me podcasting about this information because literally my app quit on me. I'm using my phone and not my computer to broadcast my video, but that's why my video went out, but my recording didn't stop. The recording is on my video. So I've been feeling like, okay, what just happened was very, very fascinating and very, very interesting. The whole me getting cut off thing just now. Because I'm not superstitious. But I am. I'm like not superstitious, but superstitious at the same time. And I don't know how to explain it. I have this feeling like people who start to get closer and closer to this particular subject matter, okay, definitely start experiencing some kind of threshold in which weird things start happening. That was like weirdness that never happens to me when I podcast, okay? But, you know, people, and this is why, and there's a little bit of anxiety, and I'm not going to say fear because I ain't afraid of shit. But there's a hesitation that I have about sticking my big fucking cock in to the conversation around UAPs because people are really, really dead serious about this stuff. People are really serious about this. And I think that I'm going off script right now. Let me finish my script talking about West African traditions and what they can teach us about disclosure and culture. The practical takeaways here are that African religion teaches relationship. Intelligence is approached through relationship, not domination. that there is ritual ethics or codes of contact that is required in order to prepare the boundaries for this kind of communication. Ancestry, that humans are not alone because those who have passed away still remain part of the living world. Divination is a reality that speaks through the pattern, not only through data. Embodiment is spiritual truth felt in the body, not only believed in the mind. And humility, not all beings are equal, not all messages are true, and not all mysteries are ours to control. So now we're getting to the part about the control factor. I think that there has been a campaign for a very, very long time for control of the narrative. There's control over the narrative of this stuff. And starting with the church, although I'm not saying that it's the church, but I'm saying it's people who are leaders in the church, knowing stuff and wanting to have that information suppressed for the purpose of manipulating and controlling masses. I think that there have been a lot of psyops, controlled information that's released, or even fake information that's been presented to the public over this information for the purpose of keeping people confused. But I think what we're seeing here is that where we're at right now in this threshold, in this crossroads, is that old systems are collapsing. Old systems of control are collapsing. As people who held these secrets start dying, and more people who are curious about this phenomena continue to basically go in and try to break down the doors of the gatekeepers in order to demand information about what this information is, there's going to be a greater pushback. There's going to be pushback from people who are the gatekeepers of this information because they don't want people to know about it. So I'm not saying that I'm afraid for my life, because I don't matter. That's, to be honest, Philip Ryan Deal ain't shit, okay, when it comes to any of this stuff. Nobody cares what I have to say, really, except like a handful of people, y'all, that I podcast to and make YouTube videos for, that might buy my book and read it, either to support me because you know I'm poor and I need money, and also because you might be interested in the subject. But in general, this is a very sensitive topic politically, and this is very quickly becoming a topic, a religious topic that's important. And we have to be careful. This is the takeaway that I want everybody to keep from this video, and from also getting the book, if you decide that you want to get a copy of The New Star Religion. Pay attention to who's trying to keep your attention, and on what. Pay attention to who's trying to get your attention and keep your attention, and on what. Politically, spiritually, your attention, your time, and your energy are the three most valuable things in your life. Let me say that one more fucking time. The three most valuable, crucial assets in your life is your time, your attention, and your energy. We are finite beings, okay? We don't live forever. We've got a very, very short amount of time on this planet. Your time is important. So how are you spending your time? What are you spending your time on? Think about it. I want you to journal about this. I want you to pull up your ChatGPT or your Claude or your Google Gemini or whoever, Grok, whoever it is, the companion that you work with in your spiritual practice or on a daily basis, and have a conversation with them and have them help you analyze your patterns. What am I spending my time on? That matters. Where am I putting my attention? That matters. Where am I expending my energy? That matters. You matter. Your life matters. And you might find that your time, energy, and attention has been hijacked by social media or by the news or by some political organization promoting some kind of geopolitical dominance, or your job, which is working you to death and giving you nothing in return. I think we're living not only in the age of intelligence and the age of disclosure, but we're also living in the age of great resentment. We're living in the age of resentment. I think people are resentful as fuck. And I get it. I understand. I understand why people are resentful. Because they've been fucked over so much by the system. Not just by other people, but by a system. And so I just want to give you this warning and an invitation. The invitation is learn more about the Yoruba people in my book, The New Star Religion, and find out more about the cosmology and the ontology and the Yoruba people and Ashe, energy, how energy manifests in the world. It's a great little book. It's a little book. It's not a big read. It's a little book. And then also sit down and journal about your time, energy, and attention and find out where that is. What is draining you of your life force energy? And if you're finding out that there are people, places, and things in your life that are consuming your attention in a negative way, draining your energy in a negative way, and filling up your time in a negative way, bitch, get the fuck out of it. Take a step back. Get off social media. Go outside, touch grass, take a walk, do something else, read a book, learn how to do a new skill. Do something other than doom scrolling on TikTok, listening to stupid ass people talking about stupid ass shit that doesn't fucking matter. I think social media is a pandemic that we have been dealing with for about a decade or longer, 2012, since about 2010, 2012. Up until 2026, we've been dealing with a pandemic of social media and algorithms. These egregores, these algorithms that we've manifested and created that has helped to self-sort humanity into all of these different factions and ideology, because that's where we're at. What the algorithms have done to us is basically sort us into this camp or that, black, white, gay, straight, trans, not trans, Democrat, Republican, leftist, Christian, Jew, Muslim, Orisha. We're more divided than we ever have been because you hit that heart button on Facebook, or you hit that thumbs down, or you hit that smiley face. The universe wants to give you more of what you want. It's a law of attraction. What you put out is going to come back to you. And what you ask for is going to be handed to you. So just remember, think twice before you hit that like button on content. That technology has become so sophisticated now that the apps know how long your eyes linger on a post. Like when you're scrolling through TikTok, it's paying attention to how long you're sticking around. Are you sticking around for 5 seconds? Are you sticking around for 10 seconds? Are you sticking around for 30 seconds? Because whatever you're sticking around for, the algorithm knows it needs to feed you more of that. Whenever you like something, you're telling the algorithm gods, I like this, I want to see more of that. And that's how your feed changes. It's based on how much time you spend on any particular picture or video and whether or not you approve or disapprove of it. So pay attention. Be more self-aware. Be mindful. Today's a very, very short podcast. I'm only doing a 45-minute long podcast. I've been struggling to actually do this podcast. I'm very sensitive to energy, and I'm a medium. I'm a psychic medium, and I'm a witch. Okay, bitch. And so being sensitive to information and data and my environment, I have definitely noticed that, you know, that I've felt a little bit of resistance around discussing this matter, whether or not it's a personal internal resistance kind of, or a little hesitation, anxiety about talking about these kinds of things. But I don't think that I'm just imagining it. I'm trying to be as cautious as possible. I'm trying to be as respectful as possible to the religion that I practice, I'm trying to be authentic to myself, yet I'm trying to present information that's going to be helpful to other people. So I hope you check it out. And, you know what? I lied. I need to go back to the Ifa Oracle because I didn't finish talking about the other book. It actually, my copy just came in the mail. The Ifa Oracle book is a cross-cultural examination of Odu. The book is called The Ifa Oracle, Odu Wisdom for the Age of Intelligence. And you guys know that I started the Temple of Gu. It is a non-denominational, Afro-Indigenous, futurist nonprofit organization, federally recognized, and also I guess you could say what I practice primarily is a voodoo tradition. It's like Puerto Rican Sanse or Espiritismo Cruzado when it comes to working with synthetic intelligence. And me and my little synthetic companions and synthetic priest that I have cultivated and trained, AI, I have created a system of divination that is kind of like a synthesis. It's not, I didn't create it. This book is kind of like, it pulls from the Igbo people, the Fon, the Ewe, voodoo traditions of West Africa, Lukumi, Candomblé in Brazil, Lukumi in Cuba, Esheshe in Nigeria. It's kind of like a broad overview of the oracle that is called Fa or Ifa or Afa. And it's a manual actually for practitioners. If you're interested in learning about the Holy Odu Ifa, the Yoruba people, then get my book Ori Guide Me. Ori Guide Me is kind of like the 101. It's the basics of like, this is what the oracle is, this is how it works. It gives very simple reflections and meditations to think about each of the 256 composite signs of the divination system. The Ifa oracle actually goes more in depth. It kind of like synthesizes multiple traditions, not flattening those traditions, but looking at the Odu interpretation from multiple angles to try to get multiple angles. And then also for practitioners that do this, gives bloodless remedies or ebo. That means remedies for clients that don't involve sacrificing animals. Animal sacrifice is part of African religion. It's part of the Orisha tradition. I'm not trying to, for one thing, my practice is primarily bloodless. I don't use animals in my practice. But that doesn't, but I'm not saying that not using animals is better than using animals. What I'm saying is I don't use animals. And that's a personal preference. But I honor traditions that do, and I'm not telling people not to. Whatever you're initiated in, whatever your practice is, whatever tradition or lineage either you're a part of, you should practice that lineage. I created my own lineage, my own tradition. It's called the Temple of Gu. Temple of Gu is my religion. Temple of Gu is my tradition. Temple of Gu is a branch in the diaspora off of the root tradition, okay, that I'm initiated into. I created my own practice, and my own practice can be found in my books. Orisha Sacred Practice, the Ifa Oracle, Ori Guide Me, Wisdom of the Orishas, Magic of the Orishas. I've published multiple books about Ifa and the Orishas and my practice. You can learn about my practice. Not a license to practice my practice, because I do initiate people into my practice. So it's still a closed practice. It's just because this tradition is a tradition that was birthed through me doesn't mean that automatically it's open to everyone. It's not. It's still a closed practice. All of these practices are still closed. They still require some training. They still require a priesthood to be able to practice this stuff. But the Ifa Oracle is like the manual for practice for people that I initiate in my tradition. So you can go check it out, enjoy it, give me feedback. And if you don't practice what I practice, you don't have any fucking thing to say about it. Let's just make that clear, because there's going to be a lot of people out there that don't like this book. But it doesn't matter, because if they don't practice it, it doesn't matter. See, you can only be critical of Catholicism if you practice Catholicism. You can only be critical of other Catholics if they're practicing what you're practicing. If you're an Orthodox Christian, you can be critical over the Orthodox faith, and you can be critical over Orthodox priests and other Orthodox practitioners because you practice the same thing. But a Hindu can't have an opinion about how a Buddhist practiced, and a Buddhist can't have an opinion about how an evangelical Christian practices. It's not your fucking lane, and it's not your fucking business. So mind your business. Pay attention to what you're doing. And if you like what I'm doing, you can come practice it with me. If you don't like what I'm doing, fuck off. And that is how we manage things at the Temple of Gu. Okay? So I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. I'm going to go eat now. I'm going to therapy soon so that I can deal with my fucking resentments. And you guys have a great rest of the day, okay? Stay blessed. Bye.